It might not seem obvious at first, but there are many different ways to move objects in SketchUp. Let me just go through them. In the first method, you just arbitrarily move an object by pre-selecting it, clicking a point to pick up the object, and click another point to set it down. If you want to be accurate, you can use numbers. I'll pick this up, move it in the red direction, and set it down. And then I'll type in 2 feet. SketchUp will adjust the position accordingly. I have an opportunity right now to change my mind and say, well, actually I want it to be 1 foot 8, and SketchUp will make the adjustment again. But if I deselect the Move tool, let's say by pressing the space bar, I no longer have that opportunity to adjust the transformation of my object. So it's just a one-time only opportunity, immediately after you move the object. Alternatively, you can pick up the object, move the mouse over, and then type in a distance, 2 feet. That means SketchUp will automatically set the object down for you, so there's no need to click again. Another way to move objects is to avoid numbers entirely and use geometry that you already have in the model. For example, with this joist selected, I'll click this point to pick up the object, and I'll click this point to set it down. This allows me to transform an object a known distance using geometry that's already there. SketchUp doesn't support polar coordinates, like you can use in AutoCAD, but you can accomplish the same type of thing by separating the steps into 2 parts. So for example, let's say I want to move this joist over 3 feet at a 45-degree angle in the red-green plane. I can't do that directly, but I can draw a line which will represent that transformation, and then move the object according to that line. So let me just draw a line here in the red direction, and I'll make it 3 feet long. And then I have to do a separate step to rotate it, the angle that I want. So I'll press Option R for rotate, and I'll rotate this, the angle that I'm interested in, which is 45 degrees. And then I'll select this object and move it over from here to there. This object is currently grouped. I'm going to zoom it on the screen by pressing Shift-Z, and then I'll double-click on the object to go into the group. Now that I have access to the actual edges and faces of this object, I'll move without pre-selecting. So in other words, I just press M. Now if I hover the cursor over this edge, I can actually deform this edge by moving it independently of the other edges and faces. Alternatively, I can grab a single vertex and deform it, and SketchUp will make the necessary breaks in the geometry to make sure that everything remains connected. Let me just undo a few times to go back to the original joist geometry. I'll exit the group by clicking off to the side, and zoom previous by pressing Ctrl-Z. The Move tool can also be used to transform inner faces and inner edges. So for example, let me zoom in this area and take a look at this face. I'll use the Offset tool to create a set of inner edges. That subdivides the geometry into 2 faces. I'll pre-select this inner face, press M for the Move tool, click a point off to the side to pick it up, and then I'll press the up arrow to lock in the blue axis inference. SketchUp automatically created those corner edges so that everything remains connected. This is auto fold mode. If you press the Command key, you toggle out of auto fold mode, and then you're able to transform these inner edges and face independently. I can set it down over here, and when I do, notice that the edges become bold to indicate that they're no longer internal edges. This is just a face like the other one is. There's a Ruby script that adds something to the overall Move experience in SketchUp. It's called the JS Move tool. It's named this for its author, Jan Sandstrom. I'll select this object and choose the plugin. I actually have this mapped to Option M in my shortcuts. The way it works is you have to enter a distance first. I'll type in 6 inches and press Return. Now I can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to move the object. In set jumps, I'm using the left arrow here, the up arrow, the down arrow, the right arrow, and so on. I'll type in a different increment. Let's make it 2 feet, so the jumps will be larger. Move it left with the left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, down arrow. And if I hold down the Option key, I can actually move it up and down in the blue axis. So in this way, you can bump objects all around in 6 different directions using the arrow keys. To use this script, let me just show you. Here's where you can find it. And it's divided into 2 parts based on the platform that you're on. And I actually had to change this for the platform that I'm on. I think originally the script was for the PowerPC processor, and I'm using an Intel processor on my Mac running Leopard. I had to change this here, and I didn't really know what to put here. The way I discovered it was by typing in this variable in the Ruby console. Let me show you how that works. I go to the Ruby console and type in Ruby_platform and then press return. And it tells me exactly what to put there. I just copied and pasted this into the script. Now it works on the Mac Intel processor.